Sister Helen, tell us all about your experiences with Sister Margie in the center.
I am so ready. It is such a good thing. Unstoppable learning goes on with me to be a part of this. This is just heart to heart. I don't have any kind of auction thing. I hope you'll support the heck out of that auction. But I just want to tell you the story. It kind of coincides. River of Fire, just talk about how I woke up to the gospel of Jesus, that it was about more than praying for people and being charitable to those around me, but getting involved in working for justice. Grace wakes us up. And in the experience today, do not underestimate how grace might wake us up to make a commitment, a soul commitment to the people of Nicaragua and their struggle there. Not just a one-time event, we participate in a fundraiser, but the Spirit might be waiting for us and moving us today to go deeper. And that's kind of what happened to me. Not kind of, it is what happened to me. So in 1983, our sisters visited. I went with a group of Sisters of St. Joseph to visit Margie in Nicaragua, right as she was just founding the center. And now you look at the tour of the center. I mean, I'm telling you, the guy that laid the cement for the floor of their main activity room didn't know you were supposed to raise it up. It just went down the hill. There was a big slant on the cement floor. Margie lived in the neighborhood of the people for over a year before they trusted her, a gringo, a white woman, to come to her for anything. The revolution had happened. The Contras were killing people to stop the revolution. And so she had to earn the people's trust. And they started the center with this slanted cement floor, learning the gospel of Jesus. And she got a sewing machine and she began to teach women sewing. It's all about relationships. And so the women began to trust her. And Margie and I were just friends, personal friends. When she would come to the States for vacation, we'd be together. And she's telling me these stories of the unbelievable struggles of the people. And if you get River of Fire, you'll see that the waking up led me into the St. Thomas housing projects to live among poor and struggling African-American people in my own city in New Orleans that I lived in the same city with for many years and never entered into their struggle. I never knew them personally. And that waking up is Pope Francis is telling us now that what it means to be a believer in Jesus is to be a field hospital out where the wounded and the hurting people are. And River of Fire is that awakening that happens in me. And part of the deep awakening that happened, I go with the Sisters of St. Joseph to Nicaragua in 83, and Margie already my friend, but I see what they're beginning to do at the center. And look how humble these beginnings are. The slanted floor, one sewing machine, a few people coming. And then, of course, Margie starts reaching out to people she knows in the United States. So at Guardian Angel, I just want to hold up Sue Keefe, because if there is an anchor, if there is a rudder, if there is a steady, unfailing engine of Friends of Bataola, it is Sue Keefe. It is others too, but Sue Keefe. I'll bet you a dime to a dollar. Half those auction items we send today are coming from Sue Keefe. So what happens? So as the center begins, and I begin to meet the women, and I begin to hear their stories. First of all, just story after story, coming up usually in a rural area, having to bring the produce out to the road, the children working. Nobody's going to school, everybody's working. I'm reading John Lewis's book right now, the civil rights leader. The working in the cotton fields, working. Poor people work. They do manual labor and they get paid a pittance. And not only the young children, especially the young girls working, but being terribly abused, sexually abused every which way, verbally abused, put down, you're nothing, you're dumb, you're stupid, you'll never learn anything. And the stories of some of the women coming to the center, almost all of them, had to deal with their husbands who resisted their going to the center. And don't think this is just a Nicaragua thing. I've traveled around the country and been to many, many, many universities, and where you have non-traditional students coming, women going back to college. They always have special counseling for women that come back to college because at some point there's a tension with their partner or their husband about their going to school. So what happens when a woman is educated, she thinks, she can critique things, and she begins to know her own dignity. So just to tell the story of Connie, who lived diagonally right across from the center, and for years she'd see people going into the center, and she watched from her doorstep there and just said, I'm too stupid. They're all smart people. They all go into a school to learn. I'm too stupid. I can't learn. I can't learn. And then one day she had the courage to walk across the street, literally, and to go into the center. And what she found there was somebody at her side to begin the whole learning process of literacy, how to read. Education, educare, it draws us out. Yeah, you can think. Yeah, you're smart. Yeah, you can figure this out. You don't have to be dumb and stupid and silent and always turn into other experts to, criticize or critique the situation and tell you, oh, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to believe. And not only did she find education, that she began to develop her gifts of thinking and reading and doing math. But she found a group of women like her, because Margie would gather the women once a week. This is how it began, to meditate on the gospel of the Sunday and to ask, what does this have to do with our lives? How is this my story? Who am I? Am I the woman bent over in this story? Who am I in this story? The shepherd, the sheep, where am I? And lo and behold, Connie makes the discovery that other women were having the same struggles. Other women they too thought they were stupid. And they embrace each other and begin to empower each other by hearing other people's stories. You are lifted up as well. I was so touched by what I was seeing, and I recognized it as the struggle that was going on in St. Thomas with Laurie starting Hope House and literacy for the people and community strength and people being able to express their powerlessness, their weakness, and in community to be raised up. Another big factor of the center that was different from everything else was the art, the music. A lot of the women, Sonia, you hear the stories, Ileana, Candida, they were all in the choir. They were all part of the music. And it wasn't just doing music together. And when they did that music together, if you got to hear any of it, get the CD of the music of Bata'o. They experienced their power in a group. Their voice blended with others was more than just doing music. It was a deeply spiritually empowering thing. It also gave them family. It gave them community. It gave them friendship. And they'd be going on bus trips to go and perform. They could be children. You'd hear laughter. I remember walking across the dusty streets of Bataola, poverty everywhere, and coming from the center would be this angelic harmony and music floating in the streets, going through the trees, coming in and out of our hearts, because there was art and there was painting. And if you look at the paintings that were done, it was one of the seeds of the revolution. Every Nicaraguan is a poet. Every Nicaraguan is an artist. And one of the things I learned at Bataola, which we came back and did at Hope House with African-American struggling people, was from paper bags, because Nicaragua didn't have any supplies. The U.S. had done an economic boycott. Everything was hard. But using paper sacks, they made poetry books of the people's poetry, the people's poetry book. And they would have it printed. And for the first time, people could see their poem published, because it was in a little book and it was out there and you could spread it around. The empowerment of knowing I have art and beauty inside me and I can articulate. Look how powerful that is. to have your words published. I don't know if they still do that book or not, but we're doing it, still doing it at Hope House here in the St. Thomas Projects in New Orleans. I think I only have like 12 minutes. I could be here with you all day. To the women, you know, Sonia, who's now the leader. I can remember being in the office with Margie, and she is in tears. A young woman struggling with every struggle that women in Nicaragua have had, how to be equal with their partners, not to be put down, with no education, no agency, any kind of economic agency that she could do anything on their own. And that's the other part of the center, is to teach women and people skills, not just women, men too, technical skills, computer skills. Because if you are struggling, one of the things I learned in St. Thomas as well, what poverty does to you, it lessens your choices. You're not free to move to another neighborhood. Poverty restricts you down to a small circle of empowerment of where you can move and have agency in your life. So economic agency is crucial to the dignity of people. And so the center, how to bake, how to do people's hair, the beauticians, everything. And all that had to develop from the ground. It starts with volunteers. We need every kind of resource we can get about the Ola. We need to pay our teachers. We need to help them get health care. They are struggling so much against the odds. And now there's this new wave of oppression happening in Nicaragua as well, and COVID. What else can people be asked to endure? There's a psalm that says, God hears the cry of the poor. The question to us is, can we hear it? And here's a Sunday afternoon, and we are gathered virtually. I want to add a little virtuously too, thanks to all the hard work of Sue and Tony and Mark and all the people of Friends about the Ola, that think of all the preparation that went into this, and we're doing 1 hour together. And I want to ask you to reach deep in your heart. I know you did your registration and you already have contributed, and maybe you'll do the auction, but I want to really ask you to get in touch with some of the deepest recesses of your heart, to make a commitment to the people of Batola. And I want to ask you to work for them in some way. And that is, each of you listening to this, if you with 2 or 3 friends would make a commitment to pool resources, to generate resources, to get units of $1,000 to send into the center. We have so much. They struggle for the necessities. And the way the Spirit of God works in us, this is ongoing learning for us. This is not us being charitable to those poor people in Nicaragua. This is awakening our hearts to live fully the gospel of Jesus. This is justice. This is sharing the resources of the earth that we have been abundantly blessed with in a country in which we are free and have agency to pursue our lives, and they have next to nothing. And the Spirit is the one who wakes us up and who says, what shall you do? What the eye does not see, the heart cannot feel. And listening to the music that comes out of the depths of this center in Nicaragua, what the ear cannot hear, the heart cannot feel. And to hear the beauty in that music. It's been such a long, hard journey. Margie started with nothing. And when she died, Juanita, her close friend, held her feet. And I was nearby too. And that's when my commitment was made. So Margie's dying, so now what happens? And that's the way the kingdom of God grows inside of each of us. I want to ask you to be generous. And even after you go home, I hope this doesn't leave you. I hope as you go about your business tomorrow, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, that this little seed of fire of the needs of the people of Nicaragua burn in your heart, and you get in touch and get deeply involved. And as soon as COVID's over, if you can possibly, well, you make a commitment to do this, to go on one of those trips with Suki and go visit the people and meet them, because they have the power to transform your heart and give you a purpose in life that you never had before. It's what happened to me. So thank you. Thank you for letting me be with you. It's really good to be here. And boy, I'm looking at everything. I'm looking at my whole schedule. I'm looking at, because I haven't been able to be with Nicaragua in a while. I haven't been able to go. Was so consumed with what was going on with the death penalty. But boy, I tell you, thanks for doing this. You're opening up this crack in my heart now of just how am I called to in this. I want to just show you this. It's a little pottery spoon holder. I have it on my stove, and every time I put a spoon on it, and I want to show you this. This hung in the doorway leading from Margie's kitchen into her living room, and every time you went through the door, you bumped it. So here's her voice ringing in our hearts today, too. The commitment to the people of Nicaragua. We have to have global hearts. We can't just be in tight circles of people around us, even within the boundaries of our own country. To have a global heart, a gospel heart, to be committed to the people of Bataola. Thank you. Thank you. Tony, you did a great job. Everybody, you did a great job. It's great to be with you.
Can I ask you a couple questions, sister?
Sure.
Okay, we've had a couple of things come in. One is, could you talk a little bit about those days when Margie was suffering from cancer and the group of you made those promises to her about keeping the center going and developing the Friends of Nicaragua? Could you just tell us a little bit about what that was like and some of the things that was said?
Of course, Margie dying, and the people were like streaming in, I remember. The man, clearly Campesina man, he came to bring Margarita a beautiful plant for her to have. And we were by her. She couldn't keep anything down. But her spirit, she was not afraid at all. And we had humor. I even managed to tell her a Boudreaux Thibodeau Cajun joke, and she laughed. She couldn't keep anything down, but she was drinking Cokes and Cheez-Its. I can't look at a Coke or Cheez-It without thinking of Margie. Her spirit was indomitable. And it was to keep the center going. And it's not that she made a big, big pitch to us, please keep the center going. It was already happening in our hearts. And I remember after she was gone, we sat around her kitchen table, just like 4 of us, and just said, yeah, we got to do it. What can we do? And we had good people who could think through legal things and organizational things. And my sister Marianne was among those that we got to form. Well, let's call it Friends of Bataola. And from that kitchen table, and when you read the stories in the gospel, when you read the story of Pentecost, everybody gathered in one room. They're scared of the authorities to come get them. And fire comes. That's a symbolic way of saying suddenly they were not afraid, and they're going to go out and they're going to preach the gospel of Jesus to transform the world. That's what happened around Margie's kitchen table. And so we made a commitment. And from there, we came back to the United States, and it was a whole lot of trouble, all the legalities and stuff. Got to form a 501c3, and we did it. And in the process, of course, in doing justice together, you form these lasting friendships with people who become your friends for life. It's one of the gifts of working for justice.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. I guess there's one other question that has come in. It's funny that you mentioned the joke, because Erica, Joe, and Kelsey have asked for you to tell the audience one of your Boudreaux Thibodeau jokes.
God, I got to find a clean one. I got to find a clean one.
Gotta find a clean one. But we're not under FCC regulations, so.
Yeah, I know. It's kind of the moral caliber of the group. Let's see. A good Boudreaux, Thibodeau, Jericho got my mind. I'll give you a minute. Can you talk about something for a little while and let me summon one up?
Sure.
Or we don't
I'll
have
talk
time?
about your book. So here I finally have a copy of the book, River of Fire, and I'm certainly going to be bidding on this. So you all will have to compete against me. But Helen signed these. I think we've got a few copies out there. So we would love to bring in quite a bit from those books.
Okay, I got one.
All right.
And it does have one kind of little earthy word in it, but you can handle it. Boudreaux and Thibodeau, man, they loved to go to the Saints games in New Orleans. See, they live in Cutoff, Louisiana. That's a real name. Right along Bayou Lafourche on the way to the Gulf. But when the Saints had a game in New Orleans, they'd go to that great big Superdome for those games. That was their big treat for their wives, too, because they were going for the day. So anyway, they only had one little problem. And it wasn't like for 40 years the Saints lost. No kidding. People would wear paper bags over their heads because it was so ashamed, but they kept going. They kept going. They only had one little problem. It was when they came out of that great big Superdome, they never could find their car. And they'd be the last one standing in that great big parking lot. So, boy, they leaving one time, and Boudreaux says to Thibodeau, he said, Tib, my man, I guarantee you this. The next time we come to this here game, we're going to be in a vehicle we're going to recognize a mile away when we come out that dome. Tip say, okay. So Tip's waiting for Boudreaux to pick him up for the game. See, he's curious because he's looking out the window going, what kind of vehicle we going to have we going to recognize? Well, lo and behold, he look out his front window and he see Boudreaux coming on a camel to come pick him up. He said, man, you crazy? We going to game on that animal? He said, yeah, we going to game. This is our vehicle. We're going to see it when we come out too. So they tie up their camel and they go in the Superdome. They come out after the game. Totally underestimate the Cajun grapevine because they had 6 camels tied up. Thibodeau looked at Boudreaux. He said, man, they all look alike. They smell alike. How are we going to know which one's ours? And Boudreaux said, man, leave that to me. And he go around behind the first camel and he lift the tail. He look at Thibodeau. He say, not ours. Thibodeau go, what? He go to the second camel. He lift up the tail. He look at Thibodeau. He say, not ours either. And Thibodeau said, man, you crazy? Why are you lifting up the tails of them animals? And Boudreaux said, didn't you hear what the people said when we came in the parking lot? Look at them 2 assholes on that camel. Y'all can handle earthy, huh?
We can handle earthy. That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Sister Helen.
Margie used to laugh at those jokes. Oh, God, she laughed so hard. And she'd have to translate for me, see? So while she's translating it, she's killing herself laughing because she's coming to punchline. It was wonderful. Look, love to you all. God bless Pata Ola. Let us continue. May the commitment rise in our hearts to be with these people and to support them.
Well, thank you so much. And thank you for being here today. And even more importantly, thank you for everything you do for the marginalized of the world. You are a difference maker.
Have to do it. Have no choice.
You humble me. You humble me. Thank you, sister.
Thank you.